This is John Meehan with Platinum Football. Today I want to talk to you about All-Star games and how important they can be to the draft process every year. There's two ways that you get an invite to one of these games. One, there's usually watch lists that come out earlier on in the season. Usually leading into a season, you'll be on a watch list for one of the games. Or number two, agents throughout the season will talk to these director of player personnels for any one of these games, and we'll try to talk you up and talk to these directors about you to try to get you invited by the end of the season. They start rolling out usually sometime in October and really don't close out until maybe a week or two before the game, as different things shift and people get invites to other games, and some people accept, some people don't. So that's generally how you get invited to one. There's a number of games. Everyone knows the three big ones. Those are the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine game, and the NFLPA Bowl. After that, there's actually still quite a few other games. Usually the College Gridiron Showcase, the Tropic Bowl are two other pretty big ones that have come up in recent years. And then there's also a couple other lower level games. And what the difference is between these games are a few different things. One, the teams. The bigger games are going to always have 32 teams, multiple people from every team there watching and evaluating. Some of the smaller ones will have less scouts actually there. Two is the media. The media will always be at the Senior Bowl, always be at the East-West Shrine game. So if you ball out at one of those, you're going to get a lot more media attention than you would playing well at one of the smaller level games. The level of competition is another big thing. Obviously, if you're in the Senior Bowl, you're going to be playing against the other very best guys in the country. It's not to say that the College Gridiron Showcase or one of these smaller games doesn't have good players. They definitely do. But your ability to really raise your draft stock is a lot higher the bigger the game is. The last thing is cost. A lot of people don't really know this, but a lot of the smaller games will actually have a certain cost associated with them, usually a flight and maybe even your hotel, depending on the game. It's not to say that if you have to pay, you shouldn't go, because a lot of people do unfortunately turn down games, and it's better to have one than to not have one. But it's really important for you to understand that you want to be in a game so that you're evaluated by scouts. And some of those games do cost money, so that's just something to be aware of. The second part is what actually happens at an all-star game, and that's what people really misunderstand quite a bit. Really, the bigger part of it is the practice. It's not the actual game. You're usually only going to get maybe 2 or 3 drives in one of the games because there's so many guys at every position and they want to see everybody get a little bit of work in. So it's really the practice that you're going to make your money. If you're doing one-on-ones and you're beating people every single time, if you're making interceptions, if you're doing whatever you need to be doing positionally to do well, if you show out in practice, that's when the scouts and agents are there watching the entire week. It's usually about 4 or 5 days. They'll be out there. The scouts are evaluating you that whole time, and it's going to be really important for you to do well because the scouts are going to see that practice film and see how you play on a regular basis, every single down, not just waiting for the game at the end. Some of them don't even do a game at the end anymore because of the fact that people were skipping them. They didn't want to get hurt. There's a lot of different factors into why people don't actually play in the games. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're getting seen in practice and evaluated by these teams every single day. They'll also do measurements usually the first day. Some of these games will actually have you do your actual combine type drills, and they'll time your 40. Usually the smaller ones. The bigger ones don't actually do those, but the bigger games like the East-West Shrine, the Senior Bowl, NFLPA, they'll get all your official measurements for the first time, which they'll again repeat at the at your actual pro day or at the combine if you're invited. The biggest point also is interviews. You're going to get interviewed by NFL scouts who are watching you practice. It's a very good indicator of what teams are interested in you. Now, there are teams that will actually interview every single player just to do their due diligence, but there's also teams that only interview you if they're interested in you. So it's a really good indicator of who likes you and who may actually show up at your pro day to take a look at you later on down the line. The other big thing is agent and scout interactions. At an all-star game, I'm watching right next to a lot of the scouts. I have a chance to ask them what their opinion is, get to kind of see what they're writing down, see what they think, see when you make a big play, who's paying attention, what they're kind of saying and what they're whispering to each other. I mean, it's a great time for your agent to actually interact with scouts for the first time and really get a vibe for who's into you and who's not. Hopefully they all are, but it's really a situation where it allows us to go talk to these scouts in a way that we wouldn't normally be able to do because they're actually seeing you for a number of days as opposed to just one pro day or the NFL Combine. Again, the game at the end is really much less important than anything else. A lot of people don't know that the actual game, you're going to get a couple drills or a couple series. If you actually do really well, obviously it'll help you, but really you're going to make your money during the week of practice, getting evaluated throughout the entire week. So you want to be on your game the whole time. You want to know that there's eyes on you the whole time and that you're making the most out of that opportunity. In closing, it's really good to know that this can raise your draft stock quite a bit. A lot of small school guys will get into a Senior Bowl, and if they go beat everyone in one-on-ones, their stock is going to rise. You can lower your draft stock too, so it's important to make sure that you're healthy and that you're ready. If you have an injury or something like that that's going to really affect your performance, maybe you just want to go and do the interviews, or maybe you don't want to go at all. It's the first major evaluation outside of your obvious game film and everything from the season, but it's the first big evaluation that a coach and scouts are going to get to do, because they're going to look at you. They're going to film these games. They're going to film the weeks of practice. They're going to be able to go back and watch those, and they get to see you for multiple days and interview you to really get to know who you are leading into this draft process. It's really important for you to know your training is going to be cut short by an all-star game. If you're a combine invite, you're probably going to miss a week of training, and you need usually a good 8 weeks before your pro day or the NFL combine. So getting into an all-star game does cut into that training a little bit, so you do have to make a determination on whether it's worth it given that situation. But they're a great way for you to raise your stock. It's a great way to level the playing field and have smaller school guys going up against bigger school guys to really see whether you can play on that level. And all-star games can make or break some people. I have guys that every year don't go to an all-star game. I've even had guys turn down an all-star game, and I think it hurts you in the long run because you do miss that evaluation, and there's no guarantees to who's going to show up to your pro day if you're not a combine invite. So that's our breakdown of all-star games. Check out our video on combine training. We want to make sure you're 100% prepared leading up to the draft every year. Any parents or players who have questions, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email at john@platinum-football.com. Thank you, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Go Platinum.